Black Ops 6 recently released Season 3 of its content cycle, complete with new weapons, a new zombies map, as well as the long-awaited return of the fan-favorite double tap perk, which has upended the gameplay of zombies since the release of the game. Because of this massive shakeup, I wanted to take some time to share some of the top weapons that I believe are among the best in Black Ops 6 Zombies thus far, primarily focusing more on casual round 20 to 30s gameplay, as opposed to strictly boss fights or high rounds. For this video, we'll be of course excluding the wonder weapons as well as some melee weapons, and on top of that for this list, I'll be using my favorite augments being Double Impact, Dead First, and Vulnera being to consider a weapon's damage output. If I feel a weapon functions better with different augments, I'll make it known, but these are the ones I'm always playing with in practically every game. But with that being said, let's just jump into it. Starting us off at number 15, we have a newcomer to the zombies weapon pool. This is the HDR. Now, this weapon by no means is bad in any way at all. It can deal monstrous damage to zombies with headshots, and it's pretty alright at dealing damage to specials and elites as well. However, one of the major things that holds this gun back in my opinion is the fact that everything this sniper does, other snipers do just as well if not better. The L96 has a much faster overall handling and damage potential, the PGM is given explosive rounds, the Dragunov becomes a shotgun sniper hybrid, and the Barrett can be spammed faster than you hitting the like button on this video. Jokes aside though, the HDR is crazy high damage like the other snipers, but isn't really special in any particular way compared to the others, so it comes in at the bottom of my list for today. Coming up at number 14 is another recent addition with Season 3 courtesy of Warzone. This is the Growl conversion for the SG550 Marksman Rifle or the SWAT 556. While this weapon may be an absolute monster in Black Ops 6's multiplayer at the moment, it has a much heavier drawback in zombies to counter as raw power and ease of use, and that being that it still has marksman rifle levels of ammunition. This means that even though you're using what feels to be a standard assault rifle, it will run empty much more quickly compared to the other actual weapons in the AR category. As such, while I would love to think this weapon is better than it actually is on the surface, the primary thing holding this gun back is its ammo situation in most scenarios, I would say. Other than that, it's an extremely solid weapon, rivaling the other ARs in the game, if not being better than some, but it is balanced by its reserve ammo capacity, which you would need to be mindful of. Up next on the list is an all-arounder rifle. This is the HK433, otherwise designated as the Kilo 141. This is a new weapon as a part of Season 3 and was unlockable via simply opening Warzone during the launch week, but if you missed it, should be unlockable via XP in the Armory. This weapon is very basic in terms of its function, similar to that of the XM4, but in my opinion is slightly better for a couple of different reasons. For starters, I'm more comfortable running the dual drums for a 100 base magazine size, as it doesn't slow you down much comparatively to the XM4. Not only that, this weapon also has an extremely easy recoil to control even with double tap and rapid fire. If you need a basic AR with nothing particularly special about it other than reliability and consistency, the HK certainly won't hurt as an option. As for the attachment selections, I'm just going to highlight them here going forward, as I pretty much set all of my weapons with the same attachments no matter the situation. If I need to, I will call out specific differences as needed. So, when playing zombies, you'll always want to use the suppressor in combination with the CHF barrel to both maximize your salvage as well as headshot damage, the Ranger foregrip to a boost to recoil control as well as sprinting speeds, an extended magazine of some sort, the commando grip to cut down on both sprint out and ADS times, the infiltrator stock to get the most aim down sight strafing speed possible, and the FMJ fire mod because as you're shooting into a horde, being able to carry as much damage through 3, 4, 5 zombies in a row is always going to be very helpful. You can substitute this out with either rapid fire or recoil springs if need be depending on the weapon, but I personally prefer FMJ to be a fantastic option out of the 3. Lastly, there's either the choice of an optic or a laser, and this comes down to personal preference. If you like or can work with a weapon's iron sights, I'd recommend the Straylock laser over anything else, and as for an optic selection, I absolutely adore the Kepler Microflex sight. As mentioned, solid all-around rifle, nothing too special about it, but if you just need a solid, consistent choice, you won't be upset with this one. Sitting at number 12 is my first LMG on this list, the KSP-58, otherwise known as the GPM G7. This weapon is much more gimmicky than the others on this list, considering it is an LMG, but it is still both powerful and really fun. Coupled with double tap and perhaps using the double standard augment instead, you can throw the crossbar attachment on and have much better mobility and overall damage if a large percentage of your shots end up hitting the zombies in the body. However, this should mostly be remedied as the primary pack-a-punch bonus for this weapon is giving it 100% hipfire accuracy, which is actually more accurate than aiming with the crossbar. So overall, just giving yourself as much ammo with the most mobility possible is how I like to handle this weapon. With the largest magazine, the KSP also gets 350 rounds to spit out extremely quickly, still has relatively low recoil, and is a solid casual feeling LMG to be using if you decide to do so. Last one before we crack into the top 10, we have what has been a long-standing favorite of Black Ops 6 for a while. This is the USAS-12. The reason why I have this weapon so low compared to what many others have thought about the weapon up until now is that with the release of Season 3 as well as Double Tap, Treyarch seems to have intentionally capped this weapon to ensure it doesn't break the meta of the game more than Double Tap already has done on its own. While Treyarch just fixed some previous issues with the weapon after the Season 3 Reloaded update, there isn't any noticeable increase to the rate of fire of this weapon even with Double Tap on top of all of it. It still doesn't bring the USAS anywhere higher than where it was prior to Season 3. All of this to the point where I've actually adjusted my build on this weapon to focus more on ranged damage rather than fire rate potential. Don't get me wrong, it's still an unbelievably strong weapon and has more than enough potential to still be considered a top performing one for zombies, but I think Treyarch basically capping the USAS has made it less attractive compared to tons of other weapons that have been made better by Double Tap. If you do decide still you want to use it, however, I'd recommend to swap out Double Impact for Double Standard as the major augment for Double Tap, and this literally doubles the damage of the USAS as well as all of the other shotguns, since you're never actually aiming for the head in most instances. Kicking off my top 10, I have the USP-45s, a classic weapon choice for Black Ops 6 that mirrors the 1911's Mustang and Sally from past titles, which is just an all-around great choice for wave clearing because of their high explosive damage. While you definitely get way more damage from something like the PGM Sniper or either of the launchers, the USPs carry enough firepower in a tiny package to make these absolutely crazy for casual gameplay. You will need to be mindful of the fact that your magazine size will actually decrease when pack-a-punch and will have less reserve ammo overall because these are explosive, but if you save these for a situation where you're in a pinch or you need to take out a special or elite zombie relatively quickly, the USPs will do great. As for my second and last LMG on this list, this is going to be the Ultimax 100, otherwise designated as the Fang 82. Unfortunately, I think the LMG class as a whole is just too much of a gimmick to ever be truly effective, as they're basically just higher capacity ARs with worse handling. But since most ARs have 100 plus rounds when papped already, it can leave weapons like this to the wayside. However, if you must run an LMG, I think it is undeniable the Ultimax is the best of the four currently of the game because of how the base weapon is balanced. It has a much lower fire rate, meaning to compensate it has a higher damage output, and with double tap, it turns the Ultimax into the biggest menace of the LMG category. You'll get 150 rounds to spray at a horde with relatively low recoil for the higher fire rate, and the Ultimax is also the most mobile and easy to handle LMG in the category anyway, meaning that it does function closer to an AR as opposed to its other brethren. One thing I will mention is that while there are the belt-fed and crossbar attachments for the LMGs in the game now, I personally think that the Ultimax functions better with more accurate and deliberate shots to the heads of zombies rather than an alternative playstyle. So using my standard setup of a larger magazine with a Ranger foregrip is my preferred way to use this weapon. Sitting at number 8 is the PP90 M1 SMG, which is pretty unique for a couple of different reasons. For starters, when pack-a-punch with its largest magazine, it gets 340 rounds in total, and even with double tap manages to keep a relatively low rate of fire, so these don't run as dry as quickly as other weapons. Strangely though, the damage on this weapon is a little bit left to be desired, but don't take that as a deterrent to never use it because it's more than enough to carry you through some casual games, especially if you like having plenty of ammo to spray at the hordes. Its light handling with crazy ammo capacity makes it a solid SMG choice, which also comes with some novelty on the side as well. At the lucky number 7 on my list, I have the SR3 Vicer, also seen in-game as the KSV. Now this weapon, to be honest, was completely unassuming to me before I started working on this video, but as I used it, came to understand the raw potential this thing had. The first major wrench in my judgment for the Vicer came from its pack-a-punch ability, which is an increased fire rate. On top of the ability to buy double tap, which increases it again by another 20%, and using double time, which can increase it more by another 30 or 40%, gives this thing a blistering fire rate. It can suffer a little bit if you do decide to keep on the CHF barrel, and even more so if you can use that in conjunction with rapid fire, but I think the choice at that point comes down to if you really want a better headshot damage potential or an even faster fire rate. If you can manage both, this weapon can go on an absolute tear. Just be mindful though, like other faster firing weapons, it is possible you could run out of ammo quite easily if you aren't making your shots count. Now, a weapon that kind of sits in the middle of the previous two, but has even more damage, this is the Grenle R31 or the Tonto 22. If I'm not mistaken, there are only a few full auto weapons in this game that have a damage potential on normal zombies that crests over 5 digits, and the Grenle is one of them. When optimally run, it can hit over 11,000 damage to a headshot on a normal zombie, and still deal a lot of damage to armored zombies, only requiring another shot or two to kill them. One issue for some players is that double tap plus a CHF barrel may cause too much recoil to handle since the weapon's recenter speed is so slow, and the rate of fire is sped up heavily after pack-a-punch as well as double tap. Because of this, I actually don't mind removing the CHF barrel every once in a while, and it can still hit 11k damage all the same. Alongside all of this though, the Grenle also has a fire mod that gives it a binary trigger, meaning that whenever you pull the trigger in, it will fire once, and when you release it, it will fire again. Using the binary trigger with double tap breaks all notions of the original fire rate on this weapon and gives it so much more recoil, but is still no doubt good and an amazing change of pace if you want something a little bit more goofy. Starting off our top 5, I have the AS Val, which, I'm going to be completely honest, I don't understand the massive hype behind this weapon. I feel like for a lot of the ARs, most of them perform very similarly. Sure, there's always going to be a couple that rise above the pack, but I don't think the AS Val is all that special in any particular way though. That being said, however, this is not a weapon to scoff at, as it is still extremely powerful regardless of what I think about it, and unlike most of the other weapons in the game, the AS Val also gets a tripled magazine size when tapped as opposed to doubled, so ammo will likely be less of an issue for some players compared to other weapons. Coupled with double tap, this is another weapon that unleashes rounds at a blistering pace, so you'll likely need to be mindful about the recoil, especially if you decide to use rapid fire as the fire mod. At that point though, I think it's a little overkill. Either way, this is a beast of a weapon to run that leverages rounds per minute over comfort and control, and if you can manage it, will tear through hordes extremely easily. At number 4 on my list is probably a less common weapon certain players will think about, but is scary nonetheless. This is the L96A1 Sniper, otherwise noted as the Frostline, and this weapon is an absolute terror. When Pack-a-Punch, this weapon gets a ludicrously fast ADS speed and an absolutely ridiculous headshot multiplier that when paired with Vulnera Beam, has the potential to one-shot an Abomination if the power of the weapon is high enough. Yes, you heard that right. One-shot kill an Abomination. One bullet, full health bar to 0. If this doesn't spell out the raw power of this weapon, I don't know what will. Now, considering this is a sniper, it does require a much different playstyle to your typical automatic weapons, as a slower fire rate and heavier reliance on penetration kills is a lot more necessary. But if you are able to spend a little bit of extra points in salvage on the L96 as your backup elite nuking weapon, this sniper will easily take care of the larger health pool enemies. One thing to note is that for none of the snipers should you be using the CHF barrel, as that does not increase your headshot damage multiplier and only hurts the recoil and handling. Instead, I'd probably forgo the barrel attachment altogether in favor of a lower zoom scope or magazine attachment that doesn't hinder the weapon as much. Now entering the top 3 spots, these are the weapons that are just far away better than the rest in the game, and I will say are going to be your best bet for weapons to invest in if you are going to attempt any Easter eggs. So kicking this off, I have the SS1 V5 rifle, otherwise seen in game as the Krig C. When Pack-a-Punched, it becomes the Crits Krig, and that name certainly doesn't disappoint. As I mentioned with the Grendel, its highest damage potential is just over 10k, which should be plenty to carry you through round 30, but even if you go further or take it into a boss fight, it's nearly impossible to be disappointed with this weapon. Its recoil is easy to control, its fire rate is respectable without double tap and amazing with it, and you'll get plenty of ammo to work with, especially with its largest available magazine. Still one of the greats since it was added to the game and sits on my list at number 3. The runner-up at number 2 on my list is the iconic sniper of the Barrett 50 cal, and the secret magic to this weapon is with its Pack-a-Punch bonus as well as double tap. When papped, the Barrett gains a much better handling compared to the base weapon, including a much increased ADS speed as well as a massive fire rate increase. Couple this with double tap and the double standard augment to double the damage to the body of zombies, and you've got a cannon that can be spammed like a pistol with the damage of a wonder weapon. The headshot damage is also ludicrous, being a monstrous 39,000 damage, meaning that in the event you find body shots not killing instantly, headshots will pretty much always be a one-shot, with only needing one extra shot on armored zombies, and a massive penetration potential with it being a sniper as well. Where the L96 was more of a marksman's weapon to capitalize on some of the highest damage per shot in the game, the Barrett takes more of an equalizer route while still having a disgusting damage output that'll make the hordes disappear at the pull of your trigger. But as of the Season 3 Reloaded update at the start of May, the Barrett has just fallen behind one more weapon because of the better overall ease of use and higher magazine capacity. Before that though, I do want to shine some light on some honorable mentions like the Mossberg and Jackhammer shotguns, weapons that have been easily overshadowed by the USAS in the past. While the USAS has lower damage per shot, the higher fire rate makes it much more helpful than that of a pump action on paper. However, with the addition of double tap as well as double standard, both of these shotguns I think match the USAS, if not could now outperform it in some players' eyes. I'll also shout out the special weapons, those being the PP90, the nail gun, and the D13 sector, or the die sector. Can't believe it took me a decade to see that pun. Both of the full auto specials are great in their own ways, actually being much stronger than you'd think. But specifically for the D13 sector, I must make it clear that if you have not already, you need to run legendary rarity on this thing, because the damage boost it gets is out of this world, making it a guaranteed 2-shot kill at the zombie's health cap at rounds 55 and over, almost 30,000 damage per blade, and not only that, but it also can and is meant to collat through multiple zombies at once. Just make sure you're not ever using the explosive or ricochet blades. Ever. And here we are, what I believe is the #1 best weapon in Black Ops 6 Zombies as of Season 3. This is the Galil Ace, or known by the Warzone peeps as the CR56 AMAX. What's so special about this weapon is that, sure, as a normal AR, it's perfectly serviceable and among the better weapons overall in the weapons sandbox. However, the true secret is with the alternate magazine type of the M67 rounds. If you're familiar with this weapon, either because of Modern Warfare or more applicably to zombies currently, you already know why this attachment is downright busted, but if you don't, let me fill you in. The 10-round mag will, of course, cut your magazine size down to a third and default the weapon to semi-auto. But in exchange for that, you get a solid damage boost and a massive headshot damage multiplier for an assault rifle that is downright unfair to the others in the game. With Deadshot and my preferred augment of Dead First, you can one-shot zombies in the head at gray rarity up to round 8, and you have the full comfort and mobility of an AR as your weapon choice. When papped, this magazine also gets a special bonus of sextupling the magazine size to 60 instead of 10. So overall, you're getting the damage of a semi-auto weapon or a weak sniper with the handling and mobility of an assault rifle that is already getting a bonus to many areas by using a tiny 10-round mag with a maximum damage potential of around 25,000. This thing is unbelievably strong, with its only major downside being that it isn't fully automatic. But if you don't mind pulling the trigger for every shot and you can manage to stay accurate, the Galil with this magazine conversion is without a doubt the best weapon in Black Ops 6 Zombies as of Season 3. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for this video today. Remember that these were my personal thoughts and preferences on the weapons as they worked under my preferred augments and attachment setups. So let me know down below if you largely agreed with some of my thoughts or if you think I missed a weapon somewhere that deserves some more love. I'm totally willing to give some of the other ones a try, as I'm playing zombies still very often, and I thoroughly enjoy using different weapons even in casual gameplay. Well, with that being said, thank you all so very much for watching if you made it all the way to the end, and I will see you all in my next video. Peace out, everybody.